Hello all, welcome back to the breakdown. Today's edition, Wednesday, August 28th. We got, I believe, a 16-game card, a doubleheader in there, some early action games. Hey, it's going to be a great day. If this is your first time watching the breakdown, what do we do in the video? Well, number one, we go through every single game, look at the starting pitching, look at how teams are doing against righties, lefties, look at the bullpens, runners in scoring position, you name it, we're going to be covering it. If you want to look at some strikeout stuff, we'll have all the team's K percentage too over the last few weeks. And as always, if you only care about a few games, they're all time-stamped down below. You can skip around. If you just want to go to the Rays and Mariners game, you can do that. Angels and Tigers, you can do that too. I don't know if you want to go to those games, but hey, you do you. All right, but let's dive into the breakdown. We do these every Monday through Friday. If you can do me a favor, though, two things. Number one, if you haven't subscribed, go do that. Please do that. We have some NFL videos coming up next week. We might have a future today. I'm not sure. And then also, number two, hit the like button if you've been enjoying the breakdown. Our best bets video, if you're like, Austin, what are your best bets of the day? We always post a second video, which hopefully if you are watching this, you watch the second best bets video. That includes all our best bets. We also post those much earlier to the DubClub so they can get the best lines possible. But y'all came here to talk about the breakdown. Enough yapping. Let's dive into the first game, the earliest one on the slate. Cubs versus Pirates, where we have Kyle Hendricks taking them out against Paul Skeens, and over-under at 8. Now, we've seen so far two of very high-scoring games in this series, both heavily dominated by the Chicago Cubs. One yesterday, 9-5. Previous day, they won, 18-8 or something crazy. I don't know if I'd want to jump in front of a buzzsaw. Now, on one side, I do lean kind of an under 8 here, but there's two things that really make me question that. Is number one, Paul Skeens, we've already heard of him, heard from their management that they're going to start limiting his innings. Pirates season is all but over. They're not really going to make the playoffs here, so no reason to run Paul Skeens into the ground in his first ever, his rookie season. On the flip side, Kyle Hendricks has been better lately, but he always is looming there, Kyle Hendricks. When the hit parade starts, it doesn't end for Mr. Hendricks. And the fact the Pirates are huge favorites here, I mean, I guess it's with Skeens on the mound, but I doubt he goes more than 5, and then they turn it over to the bullpen, which hasn't been great the last 2 weeks. I'm probably avoiding this game. I kind of lean it under here, but the Cubs, which at the end of the video, we talk about some hot and cold hitters. Literally, like the whole hot list is the Cubs. So I'm probably avoiding this game. I don't think I'll have anything in that one. The next game, we have the Royals taking on the Guardians. Now, today we have Michael Wacha against Tanner Bybee. Over under sitting at 7.5. The Royals, once again, a little bit of a short underdog here. Guardians priced at -145 on the money line. Yesterday, we lost in this game a pick. We had both teams to score 2 in the first 5. Unfortunately, they did not get it done. The Guardians only got us 1. I was kind of banking on Michael Lorenzen pitching a lot, but obviously Lorenzen did not play much in that game. He left with an injury, which you hate to see. So hopefully he's all right going forward. But Michael Wacha has been pretty good for him. Tanner Bybee's been pretty solid too. I do think there's runs in this game. I don't know if we go over 7.5, but I do think there's some runs. Look, Kansas City's been really good against righties. You see the metrics first in batting average, first in OPS, and they're not striking out really at all. Third lowest K rate against righties, 28th in the majors. I put the first for that metric as the highest K rate, and hopefully that makes sense. On the flip side, Cleveland hasn't been hitting a lot of righties recently. Michael Wacha has been pretty good. I mean, he's not the best pitcher in the world, but he's been steady. I mean, a 3.3 ERA is nothing to snooze at. A little bit worse on the road, 3.49. So he's there. I wonder if the Guardians have seen him before. Let's look at his game logs. Guardians saw him back on June 27th. He went 5 1/3, 7 hits, 2 walks, only 1 earned run. So he was able to dodge kind of some traffic there. Over his last 5 or so starts, he's led 2 earned runs in pretty much all of them, except against the Reds. Seems like that's kind of what you're getting from Michael Wacha. He's giving you 2 earned runs, 6 innings. So he's giving you a quality start, which is really all the Royals can ask for because their offense has been that good. On the flip side, Tanner Bybee, obviously, he's pretty solid himself. Let's look at his split, see if he's seen the Royals before. Well, no, his ERA at home is a little bit worse, 4.2 compared to 2.81 on the road. And as he's seen Kansas City, he saw them on June 6th, gave up 3 total runs, 2 earned runs in 5 innings, and then that was the only time he saw them this year. So I lean some runs. I might run back the 2+ in the first 5 because I really think the Guardians can get 2 on Wacha, and I think the Royals can get 2 on Bybee, but we'll see. I got to dive into that one a little bit more. A 110 start out in Cleveland. The next game, we have Astros taking on the Phillies, a 4:05 start in Philadelphia in Citizens Bank Park. You have, I saw this meme, spaghetti versus meatballs. They were saying Arrighetti Spaghetti, as everyone calls him, against Taijuan Walker, who legit throws meatballs down the middle of the plate. I mean, Walker's earned that 6.5 near ERA. Obviously, Houston not had the best success in the series so far. You talk about yesterday, didn't they get blanked? They lost 5-0. Aaron Nola really shut them out. And then the day before, what was that game like? 4-2-3, 3-2 final score. Maybe today is where the runs start to come, because I'm still not a fan of Arrighetti. He's obviously, I got to give him credit, he's pitched much better recently. I mean, his last few starts, and at least his last start was a pretty good one. 6 innings pitched, shut out the Orioles in there. But prior to that, 4-2, 1, 3, and 4 earned runs. And you look at he's been worse on the road. And obviously, Philly has been really, really good against righties over the last 2 weeks, a top 10 offense against righties. I do need some runs in this game. If I'm betting on runs, I might just look at the first 5. I'm not sure what like both the score 2 in the first 5 is, but I don't mind that. You see the bullpens though, got to give them credit. Houston's been a really good bullpen pretty much most of the last 2 months. If Philly had been terrible, but has obviously turned it around. I like some runs early in this game. Maybe I'll look at like a first 5 sort of over for this game. I think Walker could give up honestly 4 himself, and then Spaghetti, Arrighetti could give up 2 or 3 himself as well. So give me an over maybe in the first 5 there. Next game, we have an earlier start in Seattle, Rays versus Mariners. Now, so far in the series, pretty low scoring games. Today, I could see a higher scoring game. Now, Drew Rasmussen is projected to open for the Rays. I don't know who comes after him, though. Hopefully, it's a righty, because Seattle can hit righties a little bit. They cannot hit lefties. So we saw that yesterday with Jeffrey Springs. Luis Castillo, the Rays are always a weird offense. I don't really like backing Rays on the road. I'm honestly going to avoid this game. I don't think it's worth laying -175 on Rays ML, because you just don't know who's coming out of that Rays bullpen. Is it Rasmussen? I assume he only goes 1 or 2 innings, and then who comes in there next? I don't really know. So I'm honestly just going to speed past this game. I don't really want to get involved in 2 offenses that are just terrible. So you get a 6.5 low total. I'm honestly just passing on that game. Next game, we have a doubleheader. We're going to talk about these 2 games. We have Rangers taking on the White Sox. This one's just the same matchup as yesterday. Should be Andrew Heaney versus Garrett Crochet. Didn't really adjust any of the numbers. We seen Texas not great against lefties. Chicago's not been great in general this season. Haven't been great against lefties either right now. I lean an under in the first 5 in this game. I'm not sure I'll add it. I don't really like taking pitchers who might have had their start postponed. I feel like maybe you lose that competitive edge. You had your start on one day, then they postpone it, and now you have to get amped up the next day. I'm sure those guys were ready to go for yesterday's start, which got postponed here. I'm probably avoiding both of these 2 games. If you go to the second game, you have battle of 2 righties, Jack Leiter being called up here. He obviously hasn't been great. I mean, a 16.5 ERA. Probably, I didn't need to tell you that. Chris Flexen on the other side hasn't been great either. I mean, he has been one of the worst pitchers in terms of backing. I forget, you see like Action Network and all those things post like, this is how bad, what's his name? Chris Flexen has been. Now, technically, this game starts at 8:10. I do lean runs in this game, the second one, the Flexen versus Leiter. Let's look at Mr. Flexen. How many straight starts has he lost in a row? 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go, 10. Now we're up to 10. Now we're up to 15. 19 straight starts the White Sox have lost with with him on the mound. Woof, man, he has been not great. So if you want to fade them in that game, certainly go for it. You can really only back the Rangers against righties. I lean an over in that second game. The problem with I left the lines the same because we don't know what the lines are for that second game. So I lean an over in that second game. Obviously, I have no idea what the line will be, but I do lean an over. I think both these 2 offenses can get up some runs on the opposing pitcher, who I don't think is great. Next game, we have Angels versus Tigers. Griffin Canning going against Mason Englert. I do want to note, I don't think Mason is the starter. I think he's just an opener. I never know. The Tigers are smart. They try to avoid the Kenta Maeda starts, or they don't like to let you know when Kenta Maeda's coming in, because Kenta Maeda sucks. So if Kenta Maeda does come in here, I don't mind runs, but man, you look at the Angels against righties. It does not get worse than their numbers against righties last 2 weeks. Well, dead last in every metric. The only thing they're good at, first, in K percentage. They strike out so many times. That's why you normally back strikeouts against the Angels right now. Woof. But silver lining for them, Kenta Maeda is legitimately batting practice, which arguably you could say Griffin Canning is as well. I like runs in this game, but I'm honestly not trying to lose money on Angels and Tigers. Call me crazy. I'm not trying to lose money in that game. I'd rather donate it elsewhere, which is where we'll take us to Athletics versus Reds. Osvaldo Vito versus Fernando Cruz. This is another one that's hard for me to predict because Fernando Cruz is not a starter. He's an opener, and they have not listed who comes after him. Could it be a bullpen game for them? Maybe. I don't know why they would want to do that because their bullpen hasn't been great recently. The bullpen kind of sold everything yesterday. At the same time, Osvaldo Vito has been good this year, but historically he has not been a great pitcher. If you look at his, stats career-wise, I mean, sure, he's at a 3.24 ERA. Prior to that, last year, 5.86. So I feel like he's due some regression, and it's on the way. But I got to give him credit. His last 3 starts, 6, 6, and 5 innings pitched, only gave up 1 earned run total across those starts. So he has been very, very good. I don't think he has faced the Reds this year. No, he has not. So I'm honestly probably avoiding this game because I just don't know who's starting or who's really pitching for the Reds. If it's a bullpen game, I lean the A's. If it's maybe someone that I respect, I still lean the A's here. I'll respect Osvaldo Vito, and I don't really have a ton of respect for this Reds offense. They're kind of really bottom of the barrel. Yesterday, they absolutely blew that game with a bunch of home runs late in that one to the A's, who won, 5-4. I like the A's a little bit more here, especially if Cincinnati brings in a lefty, which I do have some lefty bullpen arms. We'll see what happens in that game. Probably, again, another one that I'm avoiding. Some games I like more than others. Next game, we have Yankees taking on the Nationals. Yesterday, I said a lot of people would be on the Yankees, and they were, and they got absolutely wrecked as they lost outright to a masterclass from Patrick Corbin, who's pitched well the last 2 starts. Today you have another 2 lefties. We have Carlos Rodon versus Mackenzie Gore. Obviously the Yankees pretty good against lefties. They faced now. I mean, yesterday you'd say pretty good. My ass, man. They just got cooked by Corbin. What the hell are we doing here? Now I understand that. However, Mackenzie Gore, I'm going to be honest, he might be worse than Patrick Corbin. He stinks. He is absolutely terrible. I don't know what his props are today, and I actually meant to pull them up. I'm just going to look at what DraftKings has for this game in terms of props. We have an over under 8, 8.5, whatever, or 8.5 or 9 on some books. Pitcher props, you're looking at Carlos Rodon's under in Ks at 6.5. I don't mind an under there. I mean, you see that Nats strikeout percentage to lefties pretty low. On the flip side, Mackenzie Gore, he has a 15.5 outs line, very juiced on the under. Rodon's is 17.5 plus 110 on the under. I might get involved here. I think Mackenzie Gore stinks. I'm going to be honest with you. I think he's absolutely terrible. I might take the Yankees to score maybe 3 in the first 5. What is our first 5 team total? 2.5. I might get involved. There. Let's see Yankees full game team total. I just think Mackenzie Gore is absolutely terrible. It's 5.5. I don't like a 5.5 line. I do think the Yankees put up at least 3 on Mackenzie Gore. He's pretty bad. He throws in things in the middle of the plate. He walks a lot of guys, runs up the count. When you're walking guys, one swing of the bat, and you are cooked. So I'm not sure I'll back the Yankees in that way, but maybe we'll look at some pitcher props or player props in there. Maybe we'll take a pick. Next game, scene of the crime, Jays versus Red Sox. Yesterday, the over 9.5. 9 runs. We had a runner thrown out at home. I think the Blue Jays went 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position, had second and third. No outs, could not come through. That was what decided it. They ended with 9. Today you got Chris Bassett versus Brian Bayo. I'm confident there's runs in this game. Over 9.5. I don't know, but obviously both 2 offenses really good against righties. Pretty good familiarity here. Bassett's pitched against the Red Sox a ton. Let's dive into how they've done so far against opposition. Obviously a divisional matchup here, so these guys have seen the opposing team a few times. Chris Bassett, let's look at him against Boston. Most recently, he pitched against them back-to-back starts back in June. Both of them went 6 innings pitched. The other one went 7, gave up 2 earned runs. So actually pretty solid stats for him. That was honestly in June when he had a 1.95 ERA. Since then, a 7 in July. So far, a 6.5 so far in the month of August. So not great stats for Chris Bassett. I imagine he has a very juiced earned runs line at 2.5 minus 150. If I had to guess, I don't make lines, but let's look at these earned runs line. We have a 2.5. Oh, geez, they have even have 3.5 for him. On the flip side, Brian Bayo has been actually a lot better recently. Did give up 5 earned runs in his last start, though, to the Diamondbacks. But prior to that, 1-1 in his previous 2 against Toronto. He has given up 7 and 2 innings pitched. He pitched against them in back-to-back outings. The 7's not ideal. He gave up a lot of base runners. I might get involved in this game for another both to score in the first 5 innings. Maybe I'll do that as a parlay. Maybe I'll do both teams to score 2+ in the first 5 or first 7. I really think there's runs in this game. I think there's a good amount of runs. I mean, I was on the over yesterday, so it's probably going to hit today. I think there's runs in that game. Next game, we have Braves taking on the Twins. I don't know if this is a 4-game series or a 3-game, but Minnesota's obviously lost the first 2 games of the series. It would be fitting if they win today against Chris Sale. And I honestly don't mind a little Twins underdog money line on this one. I mean, they got the day off tomorrow, but I think they could beat Chris Sale. I don't think David Fest is as bad as it gets. I think the Twins could win at plus 120. Chris Sale's obviously been really good. You know, I think he's the Cy Young front runner, if I'm not mistaken. But it's not like he's unhittable. He's had some starts in here that he's been like, all right, like the last few, he's given up 2 earned runs in 5 of his last 6 starts. It really comes down to Festa and the bullpen and how they can pitch. I think the Twins get a couple runs on Chris Sale. They've been really good against lefties all year long. They'll run up his count. They don't strike out a ton either. So I actually think we could see some runs from the Twins in this one. Maybe a little Twins team total. I don't know if I'd go Twins team total because that's probably 3.5. But I think the Twins could honestly win that game. We got a couple more games on the slate. The next one will be the Padres taking on the Cardinals. I think this is a 4-game series. So the Padres, who have won the first 2 in this series, still got a couple more to try to get the sweep. Today we got Joe Musgrove taking on Andre Palante. Now, I got to give Palante credit. He has been very, very good for the Cardinals. Kind of a surprise spot for him out of the starting rotation, given they've dealt with some injuries. Still at the same time, I don't like fading the Padres when they face a righty. They've just been so good against right-handed pitching. You see the numbers on the screen. I don't need to tell you. 2nd in batting average, 3rd in OPS, 1st in WRC+, and they don't strike out. Now, Palante, he's been pretty good. He doesn't really rely on the strikeouts a ton, but at the same time, you look at his splits. He's been worse at home, near a 5 ERA at home. And you look at him against lefties, he's actually decent, 210. So he'll have a bunch of lefties to face here. We'll see. I mean, he's been pretty good. His last few starts, 1, 2, and 1 earned run, but did have a 5 earned run game against the Mets. Since then, he's faced the Royals, Dodgers, and Twins. So still some respectable offenses in there. I really do think the Padres could get things going, but he's been really good at getting the ground balls, which we know the Padres, they lead the league in double plays. So maybe Palante actually pitches well here. I'm not sure I would lean towards like an over and outs because the Padres can be kind of annoying in terms of running up the pitch count. However, if you look at these, do we have some pitcher props? Don't have any pitcher props for this game on DraftKings. Maybe a little Palante over and outs. I could see that hitting if he can get some ground balls and just some early contact, not the Padres waiting on the count. On the flip side, Musgrove's been really good. Some Cardinals do have good splits against them like Arenado and Goldschmidt, but I don't know if I really trust those guys a ton. So I do lean the Padres though here. Enough yapping. Giants, Brewers, Kyle Harrison versus Freddie Peralta. I'm looking at a way to back Freddie Peralta on some case because you see the Giants 27.9, 3rd highest. And on the flip side, I'm looking at the Brewers to score some runs too. I mean, Kyle Harrison is not a guy I think is all too good. And you see Milwaukee against lefties, a top 3 offense last 2 weeks. So I like the Brewers here. I might take their team total over if you can get a reasonable line. The problem with it is you'll probably get a line that is, if I had to guess, probably 4.5, which I don't mind taking a 4.5. I'm going to check out this line, though, real quick on this Brewers game. Yesterday, the Brewers lost that one. See if they can win this one. Freddie Peralta is not my favorite guy to back, which is where I really only want to get some runs in here. But the Brewers team total 4.5, getting some plus 112 value. So not terrible. I think they could honestly hit that. Let's keep it moving, though. Marlins and Rockies. Yesterday, I considered 3 games to go over. The only one I picked was the over in the court Fenway Park, but I really like the over in this game. I was as sweat-free as it gets. I don't know if this one will be as sweat-free. Kyle Freeland versus Max Meyer. Meyer's terrible. I'll be honest with you. He is absolutely terrible. Freeland's been decent at home, but the problem with that is he's facing a good Miami Marlins team against lefties. If you want to look at maybe a base prop, maybe a Jake Berger, 2+ bags. I know we think he had one really hard hit that almost was a home run yesterday. Maybe that was the day before, but I think they could put some damage on Kyle Freeland. I think both these 2 teams easily score through 5. I'm not sure I'll add that into the parlay of the day, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I'm pretty sure both these 2 pitchers will give up at least 1. I mean, Max Meyer is literally terrible. I've watched him play. He sucks. I think there's runs from both sides. Minus 340, both the score in the first 5 is minus 340. I think that's like a lock. I mean, sure, it's minus 340, but that's hitting. So I do like runs, though, in that game. I think that we see both starters at least give up 1 through 5. Not sure I'll get involved, but I'll take a peek. Next game, we have Mets taking on the D-backs. Yesterday, the Mets with a big victory, right? That was like the 8-1 or 8-3 final score, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they got to Brandon Pfaadt, and the bullpen mostly late in that game. So you got Luis Severino, Eduardo Rodriguez, Erod got his start moved back. Mets haven't been as good against lefties. Luis Severino on the flip side, he has got a tough spot here today as the D-backs are a top 5 offense in every metric, really over the last 2 months, but especially the last 2 weeks against right-handed pitching. Severino, good luck getting the strikeouts. I don't anticipate him getting in many of them today. Don't mind maybe an under in Ks for him if the line is reasonable. His line is 4.5, so maybe an under in Ks there. Honestly, don't hate that at all. Doesn't have an outs line though for Severino. Does have a hits allowed, 5.5 juiced on the over. Eduardo's is 5.5 as well. A little bit more, less juice on the, more juice on the under. I do like runs in this game. I like the D-backs on the money line. A little minus 130, a little juicy, but I think they win that game. Then finally, Orioles taking on the Dodgers. Today, even an interesting one. Yesterday, not a lot of action. A 3-2 final score. The Orioles won as pretty sizable underdogs. They were like plus 150 yesterday. Today, we see you got the Orioles taking on you got Corbin Burns on the mound for the O's, taking on Walker Buehler. Now, yesterday, these two teams combined to go 1 for 14 with runners in scoring position. I'm leaning towards taking an over in this game. Corbin Burns hasn't been good. Dodgers are coming off a game where they had the base runners, just couldn't get anything going. I mean, 1 for 8 runners in scoring position is pretty bad. I kind of like the over in this game. I think Corbin Burns gives up his runs. Walker Buehler is terrible. I know that Baltimore hasn't been great against righties recently, but at the same time, this is Walker Buehler. He's absolutely terrible. And we're just going to pull up his splits. If you look at him against lefties, let's see how he's doing because he'll face a lot of them. 372 batting average to lefties allowed this year. Yeah, I'm probably going to be on the over in this game. Count me in on the over. I haven't locked it in, but looks like my favorite lean. That was one I already looked at when I was making the slides. I like some runs in that game. Get to the bullpens. Baltimore's got some bad bullpen arms in there. Dodgers have some decent ones in there. Yeah, give me some runs, though. Give me some runs. And then finally, hot and cold hitters. Let's start with them. I told you the Cubs were here in a big way. Miguel Amaya triggers me because he ruined one of my under picks. Seiya Suzuki, yeah, a little bit lower. Ian Happ. Those guys are crushing the baseball. Jarren Duran's in there as well. Eugenio Suarez. Whit Merrifield. I don't know if I'd want to back Whit Merrifield. They had a 5 for 5 game, which heavily inflated his stats. But hey, he's been good for the Braves. So credit to him. Obviously, he's had a very long career. See if we can find something in Atlanta. On the flip side, some guys that are cold. Matt Carpenter, I don't even know why he's still playing baseball. 0 for 12, he stinks. Brendan Rodgers, he's 0 for 15. Jose Altuve has a good matchup today, 1 for 14 though recently. Same for Julio Rodriguez. And 2 guys put in there, maybe Devers and Bobby Witt Jr. Maybe those are 2 guys that are sleeping on some extra base hits, some home runs in there. Both 2 for 12 the last few days. They have some decent matchups today. And let's just go into the hot match, good and bad matchups. You'll find Devers and Altuve in there. So maybe this is the day they kind of figure things out and they turn around after that cold streak. I already said a couple Cardinals and Goldschmidt and Arenado had good splits against Musgrove. And then Carlos Santana, a good amount of walks against Chris Sale, 14 for 45. I mean, Santana's a professional hitter. That's what he does. Pretty good splits, though, against Sale. On the flip side, I don't think Matt Carpenter's day is getting any better. He's 0 for 12 the last few days. Bad match against Musgrove. Lindor, not great against Erod. Jonah Heim, I don't know anyone backing Jonah Heim these days, but Jarren Duran, I put him in there. He's facing Bassett, guy that has pitched well against him. And Salvador Perez, guy that typically comes up with bases, people on second base or in runners in scoring position, 0 for 7 against Tanner Bybee. So not great, but those are some hot and cold hitters and some good and bad matchups today. I hope you enjoyed this edition of the breakdown for Wednesday, August 28th. Like I said, our best bets video will be live in a few hours, and I'll link it on the screen when it is live. We have had back-to-back winning days. Let's try to have another winning day, and I will see you guys in that video. And maybe if you want to go check out some NFL YouTube shorts, I will link a few on the screen. I've been posting some futures in there, some good plus money ones, some straight bets, things like that. You can check them out. I will link a few on the screen. Have a wonderful Wednesday. I'll see you guys back in the next one. Peace out.